you're approved for leave, the locator automatically updates to say not here. But not being here, you're not supposed to be assigned any problems. There's a problem with, that person who normally deals with it isn't here, let's send it to his backup. Far too frequently that's not actually a thing. And so, a problem has happened. The person is not here. I will stick it on his queue anyway. And then your manager comes along and says, you've had this help desk ticket for 2 weeks. Why didn't you respond to it immediately? Because I wasn't here. And it wasn't supposed to be assigned to me because I wasn't here. Okay, gonna raise the pickup there so that we can just get through this section back into the row, and then we'll drop it somewhere down this row, not get in the way of me trying to row up the ends. 44 Ranger, good day. What is on the job lost today? Huh? Job list today. Maybe. Well, so far today we have seeded that field with soybeans, and we have fertilized our 2 fields that we planted last week. We have sprayed both fields for weeds, so those fields are now pretty much good until the point where harvest happens, and should be at ideal levels when it comes to environmental scores, so no penalties there. I bought the field across the road from the farmyard entrance, and so that was 0 nitrogen, adequate, or actually it listed it as good lime, so we don't have to lime it. It's still classified as the pH is good, so no penalty there. And then we have this field ready to mow, so we are mowing it and wrapping it into grass silage bales, which will then be sold, because without a food mixer you can't use grass silage to feed cows. I can probably take grass silage and drop it in the cow feeding troughs, and that works fine. But for the robot feeder, you have to have whole crop silage, so that's something we're going to have to look at producing this coming year, and quite a lot of it. Now, one of the deals with mowing or foraging crop is that if the forage header or the mower is capable of cutting grass, show me mower that can't cut grass, as you get to the edge of the field you can contaminate your crop with grass, which then makes the collector, be it a baler or a forage wagon, have issues. And if you're using a main forager, then that can cause big issues, and we did suffer that in Oakfield Farm when we were foraging corn on the last year. Now I'm thinking the way around that is to run out onto the field with a standard harvester, with a standard corn for corn or draper for cereals header, and do the headlands and drop hay, straw when we can. Once we've done the headlands, we're away from that grass verge at the edge, and I can then bring out the mower and mow the rest of the crop for whole crop. So that's kind of how I'm looking to do. So we will always end up, we've got an oat field. probably going to harvest the entire oat field because that was the plan for that. But I do have now a new field we bought over winter that's going to be, what is that? That's summer barley. I've bought a field I think is probably winter wheat actually, but we're probably going to end up harvesting those on the headlands and then whole cropping the centre. And whole cropping the centre will just be running a mower over it, baling it like I'm doing with the grass here, but it generates a different kind of silage which can be used in the feeding robot. This is all conceptual at the moment. We haven't done it before now, so we will be... Do I have any tips for not impulse buying? What are we impulse buying? I don't really... my usual thing is, if we're talking farming simulator, I'm planning out the equipment I need. I now have 5 active arable fields. I am going to need a harvester because it's going to cost me a fortune in rental fees if I don't. And we already proved that leasing a harvester and then doing harvesting contracts was a very, very, very bad plan. It cost us more to lease the harvester than we made from doing the contracts. So owning a harvester is probably going to now be good for us in the long term, especially since we now have 5 fields. I will not worry necessarily about buying a bigger tractor than I need. I can always use it, but I'm not going to buy it new. So for example, when we started this farm, this tractor was up for sale. It's a 247 horsepower tractor. Do I need a 247 horsepower tractor? Frankly, all of the equipment we have on this farm currently can be hauled by our 125 horsepower Massey Ferguson. So this tractor was overkill. But the way I looked at it is, okay, it's 247. That does mean I can buy 6 metre equipment and haul it at a later date. I can't afford 6 metre equipment. I can afford 4 metre equipment. It supports a front loader. That's good. It supports crop sensors and narrow wheels, so I can use it crop spraying. So it fulfills all of the requirements I generally have for my starting tractor. It's just a little bit bigger than I would normally go for, but it's in the store sale. So it was half price. It was kind of a, you'd be stupid not to buy this, because your other option is to get 175 horsepower, 20-year-old model John Deere or Massey Ferguson or the Favorite 150C or whatever it is. They're all good starting tractors and they're all very, very cheap. Now, as other things have come up, I've looked at it and said, oh, it would be really nice to have a Lexion 8900 or whatever it is. But quite frankly, I can't justify 200,000 in a piece of equipment now. And I've only got 2 arable fields to use it on. So I should have something a lot less. So I had an Ideal 7T come up and a Lexion 8900. And it was sort of, they would be... I so much want those, I will eventually need one, but quite frankly, I can't justify spending the money on it now. I would be better off buying land to create more income from the stuff I'm growing. So it's really what you've got to balance things out with, is the John Deere we have. I don't need it. It's almost 400 horsepower. But it's a third tractor, and it does allow me to now start looking at, well, if a 9 or 12 metre seeder comes up in the store, Oh look, there's one. I could buy this. It needs 300 horsepower. I now have a tractor that can pull it. So the fact that it's 62,000, 60% off, that's kind of a good deal, but it's the end of planting season, so I'm not really looking to buy it. But I have £110,000, so maybe I could buy it. But I need a harvester. So maybe I don't need to even consider this right now, because planting with that is not going to happen until next spring. This thing just came up. Base 165 horsepower. That's not great. I can get it up to 260. It's a good replacement for the Deutz. Twin wheels, rear twin. It does narrows. They don't look brilliant. Does it do? It doesn't do Michelin's in narrows. Well, Mitas probably doesn't. BKT's probably not. Continentals might go narrow. No. But this is a fun little tractor. The trouble is really don't need it. It does come. Oh, it comes with a forestry superstructure, so we could have forestry bars on it. Ooh. You can put a 3-point on the front. You can put a front loader on it, and this is classed as a big tractor. This is a large tractor. That's a lot of weight on this. You can pick up a ton of stuff with the front loader. Nice tractor. If I didn't already have tractors, this would have been a good starting tractor as well. And 132,000. And it's 57% off. But for right now, the farm is mature enough. I don't actually need a tractor that big. So it's not going to be something I'm going to buy. But I'm always looking at, is that piece, you've got to ask yourself which, is this something I eventually want? Is it how soon do I want it? And is there something else I won't be able to do if I buy it now this minute? One of the examples we have on this farm is our telly trucks. These things. I've got 2 of them. They both came up in store sales. And the first one came up and it was like, well, I got a front loader on the tractor. I really don't need it, but I absolutely know I'm going to need one very, very soon. What tractor is it? What tractor is... I've lost you. The tractor is the Fendt Favorite 900. Fendt Favorite 900 Vario mod. I believe it's the one by Smetty, CMT Software, who also used to do all of the class tractors back in Farm Sim 17 and briefly in 19 until Giants released the Platinum DLC. He does class tractors, elder class tractors, and also sort of 1990s, 2000s Fendt. And I think a couple of others as well he's done. I do like his kit, and so I tend to download them and use them. We did use that 900 back on Oakfield Farm in 19. And I think I used it as my logging tractor, although it didn't have the forestry attachments at the time, because it's actually a large tractor. And when you think of the weight of a large tractor and then putting stuff on a front loader, you don't need an auxiliary back weight on it. It'll pick up a building if you want it to. In fact, I reckon the hydraulics and the loader arms and the attachment would probably bend before that tractor gave out on you. It certainly doesn't run around on 2 wheels when it's carrying things. But yeah, I'm always looking at justifying what I need. So I do need a second big tractor, but I've got one and I have no equipment that the big tractor can use. So even if, you know, a Fendt 900 MT came out, there's no reason I should buy it. Now, once I've got a couple of big seeders, maybe, you know, in the past we've had big cultivators and big plows, and obviously if we get back into corn and sugar beets or potatoes, we are probably going to need to plough the fields to keep them in good condition after root crops and corn. That becomes a problem because I'm going to want a big plough for that, which means I'm going to want a big tractor. And as we increase the number of big pieces of equipment, and I end up needing to do 2 or more big jobs at the same time, at that point I can justify having the bigger tractor. But it's always a case of, can I justify having this piece of equipment right this minute? And one big tractor, one mid-sized tractor, this is the mid-sized tractor, and the small Massey Ferguson is all this farm needs at the moment. If I need a 4th tractor, maybe a mid-sized tractor to complement this one. But have a plan where you want to be. If you're playing on something like the Old Stream Farm, you're never gonna. This is probably the biggest tractor you're going to need, about 250, 300 horsepower. That is true, and to create emotes you need to be an artist, and I'm really not one of those. I do not, well, I mean, this is the only stream I do per week. I don't do much in the way of any subscriber-only content at this time. Possibly I could do a mid, way back, and when I started streaming, I was almost streaming every day, at which point, yes, there was the opportunity of doing that, but we'll have to see. My real life time is kind of limited at the moment. 22 highlighted messages. Well, that can be a thing. Okay, we're nearly done doing this. So plan the equipment you think you're going to need, and be willing to be flexible. Don't say I want a Massey Ferguson 8S with 300 horsepower. Just say, okay, generically I'm going to need a 300 horsepower tractor, I'm going to need a 220-ish horsepower tractor, and I'm going to need a 150 horsepower tractor. And then see where that takes you. Occasionally, obviously, I'm going to need a piece of equipment and there's just nothing on the store sale, and I need it right now. And when that happens, I mean, things like this baler, I need a baler, I need it right now, and this happens to be the baler I ended up with. Not because of any store sale, but just because, well, it looks pretty. I didn't, the worker did, and that's why I'm baling up the middle, and then we'll go back and jump in the Massey Ferguson and finish up the edges of the field. Massey, the worker doesn't, I mean, it's probably in part the field, but I think also the rake that we're using, the worker has issues trying to manhandle it into rows. It doesn't do well if you do the headlands yourself first. It's usually going to drive over and mess those up. So it's just easier to say, send a worker out there, row up the middle of the field, probably bale the middle of the field, because at least that way you can drive around without driving over your rows. especially at the edge of the headlands. And then, you know, fix it as you go type of thing. So this is, and you'll note when I get to an area that hasn't been rowed, I'm turning off the baler if it's about to drop something. Otherwise, there's not really a problem me driving through the grass like when it's like this, because we're still going to go back and roll and rake it. So all I'm really doing here is just making as many bales as possible. As soon as we get along the edge there, I will turn the baler off, jump out, and we'll get back to raking. So yeah, with the equipment, I know I need a harvester, I just don't know which one. And I don't necessarily have a bias as to which one. I've loaded a couple in, like the Fendt, small Fendt that we had. Oh yes. Now it depends. Oh, that was interesting timing, I guess. I would say that this field here is adequate for the cows I have. All of their I am taken by both of those. The class Axion on the no, the class. There's the Torian or the Lexion in class. The Axion's the 600 tractor, which is about the same size as a Valtra N, but a little bit more pricey. But yes, I do like both the Ideal and the class harvesters. But if something, if a sale on a Case or John Deere or New Holland came up, I might just say, well, it fits the bill, I'm going to go with it. So that's kind of my my position. Torian is, I think it's the Torian, is the smaller Lexion. But I mean, that's the thing. This tractor was an impulse buy, but I knew I wanted a small loader tractor. And the advantage we had in the store sale on this one is it came with the panoramic roof, the front loader attachers, and wheel weights. I could have upped this to wide tyres, and it would have cost me exactly the same extra money if I'd bought it with wide tyres, with weights or without. And that's because the weights are were already included in the sale. So yes, so for cows, cows take a lot of thought. If you're not doing milk, you can just feed them hay, and they will gain as much value as if you fed them TMR. If you're doing milk cows, you really need the TMR to get the most out of them. So, hang on a minute. Take that out, turn that off. We'll get back in the baler and get that row out of the way. So, yeah, TMR, obviously a standard mix. Depending on your barn, you will need either a robot feeder or you're going to need a TMR mixer. If you're starting up the farm and you're not starting on Farm Manager, you're not going to have a lot of money left available, so you're going to need a small mixer. You may want a baler, you may want a forage harvester. Forage harvester just lets you grab the stuff off the ground without having to bale it. Then you have to mix it. All of the mixers have a menu on the help panel which shows you how much of each thing you need to add in. Some of the things are 0% to 20% or 0% to 5% or something like that. If it starts at 0%, you do not have to put that in the mix. It's optional. The other stuff, typically hay and silage, needs to be in every mix, but you can have up to 2/3 of the mix be one of those things. So you can have 2/3 as hay and 1/3 as silage, or you can have the other way around. It doesn't make any difference so long as you're making TMR. The cows are happy. If you are using Maize Plus, then the food requirement of cows is a little bit more complicated. With Maize Plus, I can't remember if it shows it here. We'll take a look just in case it does. With Maize Plus, there is base food, there is roughage, there is moisture food, there is power food, and it doesn't really tell you here what that means. This help panel is only base game. Crops, improving yield, cows. So with cows, you have to feed them. TMR is the best mix. In base game, they'll take either TMR or hay or grass, and they will eat the best one. Straw makes manure. Straw goes in a different way, and actually I need to fill my cow's straw up, so maybe we'll do that right when I get to the end of this row. Give me a second. So they don't absolutely need straw, and if you don't have a manure pit, then having straw for them doesn't change anything. But to add straw, you either need loose straw, you need silage and hay for TMR, yes, and a TMR mixer, or you need a robot feeder, which is what we have here. So what I have here, and with the robot feeder, I have to provide straw, I have to provide hay, I have to provide silage, and I have to provide mineral feed. But in a standard mix, I don't have to provide all those things. Okay, let us grab the straw blower. And we'll do a little bit of cheating here. Not too much. So I can't be bothered to put on the forks and stuff, so we will lift that up, bring it over here, and drop it in there. Okay, so that's a straw spreader thing, whatever it is, and for some reason the detection point for this sucks. You actually have to spread the straw from outside. Now, a cow barn does not come with a manure pit, so you have to add one of these close by. This is getting very, very full. Probably very, very smelly, truth be told. So you have to have one of those before you can make manure, solid manure. And then you have to give the cows additional straw. So here we are in the straw detection point, which is outside, and we're just going to blow